Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back again after some technical issues, but we're back live on Be Honest with Dr. Yana. I can hear myself. It looks like my technical issues did not disappear. So, Dr. Odell, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Aha. Okay. So now I am the only Yana that is talking. So we can get to it.
Okay.
Well,
Uh,
today, Dr. Odell and I are going to be talking about covert narcissism, closet narcissism. Hello, Dr. Odell.
Hello, how are you?
Good. It is so good to see you.
You as well. And it's so good that we're talking about this topic about the covert narcissist behavior because it's something that I think it really um, I think people need to understand it. And it's not limited to just relationships, personal, and intimate relationships. It really encompasses everything that we do in our lives, our daily life, work, play, all.
Absolutely. And this is such a beaten topic of narcissism. Everyone is talking about narcissism. And we already overuse this word narcissism to an extreme. We talk about narcissism, probably not just talk, but call someone narcissist and narcissist. It passes through our mouth, right, several times a day, or we hear about that several times a day. So we do not particularly always understand what it in fact is, because somebody's negative actions cannot even be considered as narcissism. And a lot of the times we get labeled as narcissists, but we're not.
Right. And I often wonder, when we think about covert narcissism, the dangers that could possibly lie in that for the person that actually is that's actually um, the person that's actually that's actually is providing that type of behavior, showcasing that kind of behavior, uh, as well as for the person that's receiving it. And so, I want to look at kind of really talk about those what those characteristics are in more detail, if that's possible today.
Well, I don't know what is possible. We gotta have to do that, right?
Yes, 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 yes. Like
well,
this,
well,
like this low self esteem, those kind of characteristics that we have discussed before. Uh,
yes, but
all those different characteristics that really speaks volumes to and identify what a narcissist, what an introvert narcissist looks like.
Yeah, but I think that we should start from saying that it is not always easy to identify a covered closet narcissist. And why closet? Because we cannot always see the narcissist in the vulnerable narcissist. And why she's vulnerable is because they're trying to protect their feelings, their emotions, of course. But they do that in a very interesting way. We're going to talk about it. But what's interesting about it is that it is very difficult at times to distinguish a vulnerable narcissist, because, as you know, we're all accustomed to avert narcissists, right? They are there, they are in our face, and we know them. There's just such obvious signs there, and we immediately think like, okay, the person has grandiosity. Oh, okay, that trying to show off, and this is for us is the label of narcissism, right?
Right.
And that is easier to deal with. But when it comes to covert narcissist, it's not so easy to uncover or peel off the layers to immediately understand that, because while we know how to deal with the avert and shown signs of narcissist and aggression, we don't always know or can recognize different types of aggression, which is passive aggressive aggression. And that is not so obvious, and we don't know what to do. And this passive aggressive, I believe, in my understanding, this is one of the most insidious forms of abuse because we do not expect that. We don't believe that this good person that is next to us can do something so insidious, so nasty, and is capable of hurting us.
Yeah. And then I think about, you know, oftentimes throughout my lifetime, it was pretty much, it was only referred to as extroverted and introverted type of personality. This whole narcissist, tag to that is really, really different. But I would, suggest that it always, it always have been this characteristic involved in the introverted and extroverted kind of personality, and we just didn't identify it as such. And now, through I think through this much research and working from a clinical perspective, now they're seeing that this really can be a little bit more serious than just being an introverted and extroverted person. That it has a clinical, kind of connotation to it now.
Absolutely. Well, it is so good that we distinguish between all those types of narcissism. And in clinical sense, it all makes sense. But when we get it to people, uh, sometimes, not sometimes, most of the time, this is what my clients have always been reporting back to me, that I cannot believe that this person did this and that. And when you ask them why, they say that, but he was or she was so trustworthy
Right.
that I believe them. He's just been so nice. And of course, like I use he or she, it can be interchangeably used because if I say he, does not necessarily mean that it's he and I'm against the male kind. That's not what we're talking about. But at the same time, what happens with all narcissists, and particularly with uh, vulnerable closet narcissists, is that act like chameleons. And at the beginning, they will try to pull you into their sphere of control uh, by making you believe that they are trustworthy because they're going to start doing all these nice things for you, like of course the typical narcissistic behavior is what the love bombing at the very beginning, right?
Right.
And covert narcissists, so this is what they would do. They would do all these good things for you. Also, they can be so super friendly, super charming, but in a very non-intimidating way, essentially having this insidious goal behind all of that help is, of course, to pull you into the sphere of control. And then when they set you up for this very interesting uh, understanding of them, a definition of them as such a nice, positive, trustworthy, and helpful person, behind that, they know that the day is going to come when they're going to do something and you will not like it. And they're going to say, but I did it all nicely. Do you remember when I helped you with this and that? I, such a good person, and I'm so good and all together. And you are so unhinged right now. Like, what is wrong with you? So it's a no win game, of course. So at the very beginning, we don't even know what to think.
Yeah, and also, so in the dating, in the dating spheres, so in the dating process, in the beginning of the dating process, I think how narcissists do show up is to weaponize themselves and to empower themselves within the relationship. Is so they ask a lot of questions to to women or either men. So it operates on both sides. And so those questions begin to become roadmaps to like, this is what I like. What do you like to do? This is what I want. This is my goals, my aspirations, my dreams, and this is how I want someone to show up in my life to help me to achieve them, or either to support me in achieving them. And when all those things are laid out, I think a narcissist just be mentally take notes on all those different characteristics and the things that they want, their desires, what they don't like, what they like, and they play into that so well. I mean, they become experts and then it turns into manipulation, and they will follow that roadmap. So women kind of give men the roadmap to, if they're a narcissist, a covert, invert narcissist, to manipulate later on. And also, that's also both on both sides. So women and men provide that map. So sometimes that whole initial interview process and meeting someone can be kind of very detrimental. It would be really,
Interview.
yes,
Interview.
yes,
It
the
is like an
interview.
interview, right? Going on interviews every single time.
Exactly, it's like an interview, and so that's the beginning of it. I think I really kind of wonder what would it look like if it was just not so much an interview. It's just you just show up, and each person show up in the relationship and just be really organic and authentic. And it's not an interview process. I'm not concerned about what you. I mean, I definitely want someone to be independent and be creative and have some goals and aspirations and dreams. But I'm not so interested in that. I'm more interested in the energy, and I think people should be more interested in the connection, the energy, and it becomes organic. And it's not about the interview.
I happen to completely agree with you because when I was dating at the time and trying to find my partner, it did feel as an interview. People come with agenda and they have pointers and they want to get answers to all of those questions to see if you fit with them into their schedule, into their life, into their situation. They don't look at you as a human being. It's like whether you are going to fit into my story. And a lot of the times, when you say that, oh, let's just come to meet the person authentically and organically and not have an agenda. Well, we do have an agenda, right? We do. And we go and we try to see if that person is a fit for us. Most importantly, because we also have, not to say narcissistic tendencies, but to some degree, we love ourselves and we don't want to put ourselves through turmoil. So we go and we see that, okay, that this person feels nice to us, right? We have a good feeling about it. A lot of people talk about chemistry. I hate this word. I hate this stupid word, chemistry between people, because this is they're not talking about the emotional, intellectual compatibility. They are talking about physical chemistry, and of course, it is very important. But at the same time, physical chemistry is not everything because you can be physically compatible with a person and have great sex, but it is not going to suit your life purpose, you as a human being. And it is easily possible to get sucked into abusive relationships. But if I could give any advice to people who are dating right now, trying to find their person, is that go and meet people and try to see a person in them, just like you're saying. No agenda, no interview, and just sit there if you're at the dinner, coffee, or walking, uh, and look at the human being.
Yes.
And the second piece of advice to that, I would advise to listen, because people are telling you much more on the first date that they will tell you on the second, third, or fifth, because in their understanding that they may not ever see you again. So people share the information about themselves on the first date, first time you see them. So listen, and people will give away so much information, including uh, possible signs of narcissism and how. What would be the only so obvious sign of narcissism? Victimhood,
Victim.
right?
Yes, yes.
What did you want to say?
Well, yeah. So right. I mean, that's so true. Um, you make that's a profound point you made about just sitting there and listening, because people with that, if you understand, first of all, the person needs to understand what those traits are that identifies as being narcissistic. And so dominance in conversations in that first date, and it's not about you, it's about me. I mean, and just sharing more and more about all my accomplishments, and and all the things I've done and do and plan to do, and not really taking the time to pause, and so that person can respond and share their interests. Um, but that often happens, and and also it's often ignored as well. And I'm not trying to really dump down on women, but women have the tendency to be a little bit more vulnerable, from my experience, and that they will sit there and listen to all that. I mean, they'll identify some narcissistic behavior because of the imbalance of between men and women in numbers. There's a little somewhat compromise and desperation that women choose to go and go with it, and say, it's going to be all right, and maybe I can make it better once that person get to know me, and once that person is in my life, they're going to have a whole different experience, and all this is going to change. So there, this possibility I can change this person, start you kind of start emerging in someone's thinking. And that's really from looking at the physical, like this an attractive person. I can see myself being with that person. I see some flaws, but I'm going to ignore those. I'm going to make it work, and it becomes disastrous.
And that is the biggest mistakes people make in any kinds of relationships, any kinds of whether that would be personal relationships, work relationships, even in a family dynamics, right? We overlook, we don't pay attention, we hope. And like you rightfully mentioned, women are more prone to that, of course, because they biologically are more tending to your needs. Of course, they're more emotional, while men may not engage into passive aggressive behavior. Mostly it is going to be uh, an open aggression. But nevertheless, even men nowadays, sometimes there is no difference to see. Uh, you see the biological man in front of you, but the person has all of the identifications. I wouldn't even say with different biological identities, genders per se, but they would have at the same time not only the male perspective, this hard uh, representation of a male as we know in the society, that the hardcore suck it up, behave like a man, right? They a lot of the times men have female qualities as well, and it has nothing to do. We're not talking about the gender identities like men. I assuming the female role, and this is not the what I'm saying. That's a totally different story. I haven't delved into that. Need to explore in order to be able to talk. I'm talking about the traditional gender roles here and how men can have a very caring female side to them as well. And they would be really sensitive as human beings, of course, and that sensitivity is more attributed to females, right?
Mhm.
And they would, in fact, have tendencies to save, to understand, to tender to. So when we look at that, of course, women they engage into passive aggressive behavior, right? And by doing that, it's of course also they're trying to establish control, and control is for me and me only. Everything has to come to my benefit. So if we are dating, and the first time when we see the person and the person is so nice and fantastic and so beautiful and charming, there's nothing wrong with a person. If it is too good to be true, it is not true. It is absolutely, this is just the truth that we should not avoid, because we don't have all the set expressions and idiomatic expressions for nothing. Our ancestors have already seen uh, they've been there, they've done that, and they have created some wisdom that we can read now in those idiomatic expressions, right? So when somebody comes and the first time you see them and you see that they are playing a victim from the very beginning, oh, things are wrong about them. Everyone is wronging them. Oh, it's always going some way that is against them. And they can be so charming in this. And by doing that, especially women, that creates in a man desire to protect, to love them, to care for them. And that, I believe, that for men is a very important thing to understand, because they can fall into that rabbit hole and never get out of there.
Yeah. That reminds me of the book that Steve Harvey wrote, Think Like a Man.
Oh, I love that book. Love that book.
But it's that book, I mean, is that possible? And why should a woman step away from her essence of who she is and the feminine and start thinking like a man to make a relationship work? That's really what it was all about. Like, think like a man, and then you can really be two steps ahead of him of any games or any things, any ill God intentions he may have in dating you. And the book was good, but the movie was kind of like it really just depicted when women started trying to think like a man. It was a lot of conflict between the man and the woman when she took the role of the masculine and let that be dominant in their relationship. And she was the one yelling and screaming, and the one that was angry and combative and resisting anything that was coming her way from the man that she felt was not to her best interest. And there was a sense of violence when you ask someone to go outside of themselves and be something that they're not. I think that women can still think like a woman and still be okay and be ahead of it, and just but using more intelligence, intellect, and lived experience of what they because by the time we get into our 50s and 60s, we know how to think as we are in our own masculinity and femininity and be okay because we see all the things that we've gone through. We know all the games that people play, all the lies they tell. And I think it becomes us that choose to accept that and go on with that or not go with it.
This is profound, Dr. Adele.
Mm-hmm.
This is very profound. The thought that comes to mind here is that if God wanted us to be the same, He would created us equal. We
Yes.
would be all male, for example. If women want to behave like males, would all be male somehow, or just in between the genders, and somehow we would all be the same, but nevertheless have this procreational ability to bring children into this world who would also be it in between the genders, right? So the humankind would be different.
Yes.
I would say that I completely agree with you in terms of a woman can be a woman and still be ahead of the game. And when people tell me that I don't want to play games, I don't want to play games in the relationship. This is so, I'm not like me. I'm so authentic. Life is a game, and we are all participating in it as players. And who knows how to, or has the ability to know the human psyche and the psychology of the opposite sex, those people win in relationships. So, if we don't understand the opposite sex and we want to create some sort of a relationship, it is going to be doomed from the very beginning. So, I think women have an incredible power by being women.
Yes.
And I'm not stripping their strength here of being the second class citizens in the patriarchal society. They are, I can't say equal to men in this sense because we cannot be equal to men as women, but we have similar positions, of course, in the society. Although the latest feministic trends is to completely negate everything, and that doesn't help. So women possess an incredible advantage over men, meaning that not in the sense of overpowering them in the society or dominating in a relationship, but they have this power over men as women with the charm, femininity, intellect, the well, don't laugh at it. Intellect meaning that we even differ how we think.
Yes.
We women are not the smarter than men, but what I'm saying is that they like I'm one of them, right? We think differently. We are able to solve problems from the looking from the different perspective at times. So in the relationship, I believe it is important to be a woman, not a man, because if you are the very beginning of probably dating or even thinking of starting a relationship with this woman, I don't see or I haven't seen any single man who would say, "Oh, she behaves like a man, and that is such a turn on for me. She's gonna be a man in our relationship. This is so good. I need to create a relationship with her."
Yes, exactly.
That doesn't happen, right?
Doesn't. No, it doesn't.
But it happens after the relationship starts. And why is that? Why is that? And that is to instill control over that man. That is the most pathetic thing, that comes from a very weak woman. You have to be weak in order to behave passive aggressive. You have to be weak to be a narcissist. So, in order to gain control over a man, women think that all of a sudden, after they have lured the man into their net and created the relationship or married them, they think they can do anything they want and the man is not going to go anywhere. And perhaps it is a very old approach to this topic, but um, man is not going to run away from a feminine woman unless he's feminine himself. That there's a different
Yeah.
story. But a man who's a man is going to appreciate being appreciated and loved and listened to and not put down, not devalued, and not yelled at.
Yeah. Those.
Am I wrong here, Dr. Odell?
You are making such profound truths. That's you are right. Yes, you are. Um, so men certainly don't want. So I agree with you and the whole think like a man thing. That I immediately thought when I heard about the book. Well, who would want a woman that thinks like me? I was thinking like, I mean, that would be a clash from the onset before I even meet that woman that's going to think like me, right? And we won't get anywhere from the first date, first encounter, if that's to be her truth. And so, the feminine, I mean, that's what I desire, and that's what I want, and most men that I have talked to and know, that's what they want as well. Now, the great thing about women, when we know that women operate in multiplicity, all in the same moment, that a woman can be sitting in a chair, pregnant with three kids, got three kids that she's watching, cooking stuff, cooking dinner, did the sweater, watching television in the same moment. No, men can't do that, right? So understanding that significance of who she is, um, yeah, it's just a powerful piece, and that role is deserves to be respected. I don't see her stepping outside of that. And, oftentimes we have single parents, and so they step in the roles of trying to say, okay, well, I'm going to try to be that void of the father not being there on a daily basis. And they try and they do their best, and some have done great jobs in raising their children, but there's some that have not, because that void can't be replaced by the feminine. It has to have the masculine in order for it to evolve into the balance, to have the balance. So, so I agree with you in regards to women really accepting and being, really being in their roles and celebrating their roles, and disseminating that love and femininity in the universe. And I think they'll fare much better in all the things that they do.
I have not seen any woman historically, any historic um, representation, any historic story, for example. Well, let me just put it this way: any story from history. I am having so many thoughts in my head, um, that we know of from great literature, from philosophy, from history, that got ahead in her life by asserting advantage over a man, by putting him down in the most overt way, or even a covert way, as we're discussing it right now. No such thing. Men always felt appreciated. They always felt being on a pedestal. And we don't have to, as women, we don't have to put a man on a pedestal, of course, but he needs to believe he's there. He needs to believe in order to do his masculine things. Many women are going to disagree with me here and they're going to throw stones at me. But the history speaks for itself. And saying what I'm saying right now is, in fact, brought women more power than the open aggression, than dismantling male psyche or his self identity or pride in order to gain control. But unfortunately, this is what happens with female narcissism. And we're back to female narcissism because it is such a pertinent topic in our society. We have, of course, spoken about them having low self esteem and insecurity, right?
Right.
What happens there that they have hypersensitivity to criticism. We've all noticed that passive aggressiveness is a given. They have grandiose fantasies, victim mentality that we have already discussed, envy and resentment, manipulative behavior, emotional fragility, and dependency on relationships. So, with women, I believe it's the envy and resentment that plays a huge role here because if men do not have particularly this emotion as envy, women would. And most of the time, this is how it is um, displayed. It displays displayed in passive aggressive behavior.
Yes. So that's really interesting. You're talking about envy and resentment, and and so that definition encompasses being jealous, having jealous kind of being jealous, being feeling envy about someone else's success and the accomplishments, and maybe they have a happier life that it appears that relationships that they envy that wish that they had themselves. That is so self defeating. Uh, there's this saying that what's meant for me is meant for me. I don't know if that saying is actually true or not because it's kind of like really how we show up in this world, and if we using passive aggressive behaviors, if they're unbalanced in how we're using that, what's meant for you, you're probably more than likely miss. You really got to get healthy with understanding how to actually. It's nothing wrong with being passive aggressive or aggressive passive, but you got to know how to put that in perspective and show up in someone's space with respect with it, and understanding how it empowers you as opposed to how it destroys you and your success.
Well, what happens with the narcissists is that they operate from the essence of the shame. Because while we look at the narcissists and we think that, oh, they are so self assured, they're so confident, the main emotion that they operate from is shame. So, with narcissists, they are essentially empty shells. They have this incredible void inside of them. And by pulling you into that void, they need to negate your accomplishments as well. Because by your accomplishments, and here there comes the envy, jealousy, by looking at your accomplishments, their own self esteem is hurt.
Yes.
Their own self understanding is dismantled into pieces because you are better than them. And in order for you not to be, they will, of course, turn it around and blame you for that. You know, closet narcissists, they have a very interesting way of dealing with their insecurities. They may, at the very beginning, and this is how aggression is shown, well, when you uh, show that you have gained something, you got a promotion at work, you published the book, or you have painted some incredible piece of art, right? Doesn't have to be incredible for that regard. It's just something that you did to express yourself. What they would do that would be so um, undetectable here for you to really to pinpoint whether the person is for you or against you. It looks like we're stuck here on the video, so something is happening here, but our voices
I
are
can,
here.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah. So, what they do, they will give you a compliment, but the compliment is going to be two-sided. The first one, of course, the first part of compliment is going to be the compliment itself. But the second part of the compliment is going to be a complete negation of what you do.
Mm,
For example, you have published a book, and your partner comes and says that, oh, I'm very proud of you for publishing a book. Well, after all, it is high time. You never had much to say, right, for people to listen. So I don't even know if many people are going to be attracted to what you say or going to buy that book, right? But first, you felt good about yourself, right? Oh, yeah, congratulations on publishing the book. And then not that many people are going to read that book, and you're like, ah, right?
right.
So these kinds of compliments are designed not to help you in any way, not to be on your side, but to dismantle your core.
Mm,
And if you are exposed to this kind of compliments, this kind of behavior for too long, it is possible to have cognitive dissonance moments, right? You are confused, you don't understand what's happening. And then from there may come the low self esteem if it is a prolonged exposure to that. Low self esteem, loss of yourself, even depression because you no longer want to do anything because you will never amount to anything good. Or even, for example, a woman, she's so proud of herself, she put on a beautiful dress that she was able to finally fit into that, right?
right.
And her friend is going to say, oh, what a beautiful dress. it may look much better on that woman,
Mhm.
but on you, you're going to have to lose a few more pounds in order to look good in this dress. You're bulging here and bulging there.
Right. Right.
So women are very ruthless with each other. Um, but these are the type of compliments. And if you see your friend, coworker, anybody who comes to you with this type of compliments, it is not tough love. Because if we could say that, that's what the narcissist would mostly say, that, oh, who else is going to tell you about it? I am on your side. I am your best friend. Who else is going to tell you the truth? And you think that, well, maybe because nobody else is telling me all of that. And this type of compliments is a complete destruction, continuous destruction of your self esteem. And if you notice that, it is not tough love. It is designed to destroy you and subject you to their control.
Wow, you make some good points there.
And we see that all the time. We see that all the time. We just don't pay attention to it. Like you mentioned from the very beginning. What happens, in fact, why we end up in this kind of relationships, abusive, nasty, suffocating relationships? Because we don't want to see. We put on those rose tinted glasses on, and we don't want to see. Oh, this is just we excuse their behavior by saying, oh, this is just like who he is, who she is. She will get better. But the most important thing to understand that that is emotional abuse.
Yes, it
There
is.
and there is tough love. Of course, there is tough love. And I love this because with my friends, with my family, I would prefer the truth to the sweet lie. So if I'm doing something wrong and come to me and say it. That could be a constructive criticism. But this kind of criticism that narcissists involve themselves in and impose on other people is a destructive criticism. So we must be able to understand it and distinguish it from others.
Agreed.
Yeah, that is the profound truth that we need to understand in terms of human relationships, in terms of dating, co-worker situation, family, anything. So
So what would be the one thing, in your opinion? Um, we've been talking about covert narcissism. What would be the one thing that we could do to heal from that behavior?
for us, not the
What
narcissist, or the narcissist to stop
the
that behavior.
for the narcissist to stop that behavior? So the covert one to me is a little. It's actually more serious than the overt one
Oh, yes.
because you see it coming from the beginning. But this one is something that you will end up spending time, I mean, precious time with. I mean, years it could be with this person before it
Mhm.
finally just blows up and explodes. And you've wasted all your precious time and energies, and you probably have lost a large, huge part of yourself along the way. And you got to recollect all of that at some point when it's just not working anymore. So to avoid someone from stepping into that trap, what do you think would be the one thing you would suggest that a person should do when they meet someone that has those type of characteristics of a narcissist, a covert narcissist? And then again, you can't tell initially, and that's the one that's really really difficult to. I mean, this particular area of this covert to me has much more though implications of detriment than the overt one.
That is such a great question. First of all, if you see the perpetual victim that never conquers her fears, never conquers herself, and always blames you for everything good that you do, You are always at fault. You need to rethink it, whether that person will ever get better, because this chronic victim mentality will never go away.
Mm.
Because what happens is that during the arguments, and of course there are going to be arguments because at some point in time you're not going to like this kind of attitude, and you will rebel, and you will rebel again and again because you don't like this kind of attitude. You are tired of it. You start defending yourself against this passive aggressiveness. And then you will see someone, your partner, who's a narcissist, that they will turn into an angel. I call that so many times that you turning on an angel.
Mm.
Angelic face immediately. Oh, I just did this for you. Oh, I just was wanting to get together with you. All I did was to call you, and you are behaving this way.
Mm.
They will turn on the tears, and that will be essentially the demon in the angelic form. They will turn on the tears of vulnerability by doing something wrong. And that would be their defense to avoid shame that they inherently are feeling. So that would be something to look for. And if we're talking about healing that person or what that person can do for themselves, well, first to recognize their own behavior, and for us to avoid that altogether, because narcissists never change. It is in their core identity, this kind of behavior. You are always going to be at fault. You are always going to be tormented. Not because they all of a sudden decided to do that and you bring it up the worst in them, but because it is in their core, the core of their personality. They grew up with that, with the different circumstances that surrounded their childhood. They grew up like that. These are the
Mm.
defenses that they chose to have. And you're no different from anybody else. You are going to be in that situation with them up until you open your eyes and decide to leave.
Yes, that's profound. That's real. That's the reality of it.
This is the unfortunate truth, Dr. Adele. This is the unfortunate truth because we get so emotionally entangled with them. Invest years, right? Emotional investment, financial investment. We may have children with them.
Yes.
And if we don't educate ourselves, if we just justify it by saying that, oh, she or he is just like that, that oh, what can I do, they're just like that. No, we have to be smart. If we don't want to live in this kind of a situation, the person will never change. It is up to us to make that decision.
I think you're right, without a doubt. So true.
Yeah. um, they have incredible expectations of you, of how you're supposed to behave. And if you don't conform to that, you are blamed, because there is never, like you probably noticed that with your relationships with covert narcissists, that doesn't matter what you do, you will always be at fault. You do things wrong every single time. They are unhappy with you.
Hmm.
They can be asking you to do certain things, and like things around the house, for example, right? Do this and that. And then you do that. You hang the picture, for example, on the wall. You do it wrong. I would have done it better. It's hanging crooked there. This is the wrong spot to hang it. They will
Right.
always find something wrong with it. It's because of the high expectations. Unfortunately, narcissistic parents behave this way with their children, and that is problematic. Well, Our show has come to an end. Unfortunately, my screen is frozen and I do not see the time. So now we're over the limit, and we will be meeting next time to continue the conversation with Dr. Odell.
Yes.
So we will see you next time. Come to dismantle this covert narcissist dilemma next time. So
I
we'll see
look
you
forward.
next time. Thank you for joining us and listening.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
You still there?
I am.
Okay.
My computer froze.
Okay.
You're
I'll,
free to leave. Yes.
okay. Okay. I'll call you.
Okay.
Bye
Bye.
bye bye.